A very good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. This is a live that we do on TikTok every single Monday between 3:30 and 4 p.m. on Standard South African time. And you can do a recap or a rewatch on IGTV or YouTube on Influence SA, and that video gets loaded up by the Wednesday. So, Eugene, what are we speaking about today?
Well, today's topic is dealing with toxic relationships. So,
That's right. Yeah. So
drop a
today is
comment
a
down below if you can relate.
okay. So we are going to be speaking about dealing with toxic relationships. Again, if you're watching this on YouTube Influencers A, don't forget to click on subscribe. And if you are watching this on IGTV for the catch up, then please go ahead and follow us and also share it off with your friends. On that note, let's take a quick pause.
Sunny Motive, written by Sunil Osman, uses and explains motivational quotes to encourage readers of all ages to take bold steps in life, love, and business. Order your copy now by emailing Lauren Moy Publishing on sales@laurenmoypublishing.com. Also available on takealot.com and amazon.com.
Welcome back to Monday Motivation or Motivational Monday with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. Again, we do this every Monday between 3:30 and 4 p.m. and that's Standard South African time with the recaps posted on YouTube under Influence SA and also on IGTV. Today's topic that we are speaking about is dealing with toxic relationships. And to start off, I want to say that when we say relationships, we're not just talking about marriage. We're not talking about boyfriend, girlfriend. We're talking about friendships. We're talking about interaction on social media and lots more. So
Hmm.
I don't know, Eugene, do you want to start defining it or should I start defining it? What should we do?
You go ahead. I
All
think
right.
you've got a nice
So,
little definition going.
so you know, the word toxic has been thrown around like it's confetti. And it really needs to be defined properly, whether it's family, friends, girlfriend, boyfriend, or even the person you're living with, your housemates or whatever. It's about a relationship where people are not supporting each other. It's about being pushed, manipulated, exploited, coerced, or even being bullied into doing things that you don't want to do or who is not you. It often leads to things like conflict, whether it's inner conflict or verbal conflict or physical conflict. There's a competitive nature to being in a toxic relationship or friendship. Disrespect. There's a lack of trust, dishonesty. When somebody makes excuses for an unacceptable behavior, these are all toxic traits that you can identify with. When you are in a situation, when you are giving your all, but you're getting nothing back, that is also toxic.
Hmm.
A silly example would be when you are in a relationship and you're doing all the effort, you're making all the dinner dates, you're making all the plans, and you're getting nothing back. Yes, people love differently, but there has to be a limit. Toxic
Hmm.
relationships, unfortunately, sometimes even lead to physical and mental abuse.
Hmm. That's what I was going to touch on. Often toxic relationships and the toxic relationships I've been witness to have often been from physical and emotional and mental abuse. It's not all just uh, what you can disagree with someone and you can be in a toxic friendship and oh your friend doesn't interact with you, but there are levels where it starts to get really bad. And if you're in a relationship where you're in a physical, mental, emotional situation, you often don't see it until it's too late. And that's where toxic relationships, like, we don't often want to admit that we're in a toxic relationship, and that's the trouble. Like, admitting that you're there is obviously step one to actually growing and stuff. But being in toxic relationships, it's so easy to fall into this category because before you know it, you're being treated in a way where you don't actually feel appreciated, and then you just kind of get used to it, and then you kind of sink lower, and you don't realize what the actual problem was because you didn't understand what the cause was until it was too late.
Yeah, something which you've mentioned there, which is very important, is that you're sinking lower. You start accepting it. You start thinking it is normal, which is the scary part, because you're actually losing who you are. You start losing your energy. You start feeling that downer, but it becomes normal when actually it is not normal at all. And
Mm,
often these lead you find yourself in a narcissistic situation, and
mm,
you aren't able to identify it because it just becomes normal. And when it becomes normal, you are not knowing your own worth. You are selling
mm,
yourself short. You are accepting things which you should not be accepting. And this is
mm,
something we'll get to when we start speaking about how to deal with this. But a
mm,
toxic relationship, as mentioned, is not good for your heart. It's not good for your soul. It's not good for your life. It affects various aspects. And I personally know of many men and women that have landed up in abusive situations, physically abusive situations. I've taken three friends I can think of to police stations to lay charges because they've been beaten, because they stopped allowing the toxicity. A toxic person
the-
has an ego and something that they need to enforce sometimes. And sometimes it's not their fault because they don't know any better. Another thing which you mentioned, which is very important, is acknowledging that something is toxic. The moment you
mm,
acknowledge it, you can start taking
mm,
steps towards dealing with it. But we'll speak about dealing with toxic relationships in a moment.
yeah. One thing you touched on there is the conflict. There's like a lack of empathy. That's what all of these, the hostility, the the anger, the physical, the mental, all of this abuse that comes in here is from people that really lack empathy because they wouldn't be able to feel what you're feeling to be able to like a lot of people that are being mistreated, okay, they normally have a lot of empathy. They normally love a lot. They normally give with their whole body, soul, heart, like it's everything to them. And when they're in a relationship where it is nothing to the other person, but they still give willingly and freely, this becomes a toxic part of the relationship because
Yes.
you're not you're not getting that fulfillment, but you keep giving, and then after a while, what do you have left to give? And that's when
Mm.
you often find you have a breakdown. And as Sunil just mentioned now, and something we do mention all the time, your self-worth. That the more you discover your self-worth, even in a toxic relationship, yes, you might feel down, you might feel what like, but working on yourself, even if it is just in small incremental sizes, those little building blocks land up being, and you land up improving, and you find your self-worth, and it's you you then don't want to be in a toxic relationship anymore.
Yeah.
But we'll come to dealing and fixing all that sort of stuff in a second. Yeah.
Yeah, so you said we'll get to that in a second. I think that second has arrived. Something which you have mentioned, which is so important, is that there's a lack of empathy in a toxic relationship. But what happens is when you become back to what we spoke about earlier, when it just becomes normal, you just keep giving, keep giving. You are the one sending all the messages or making all the effort, but you're not getting anything back. And that is the toxic side. Yes, as I said
Mm,
earlier, everybody loves differently, whether it's friendship or relationship. But when you're not getting anything back, you are questioning your, what you said, self-worth. So then how do we deal with toxic relationships? Something which Eugene mentioned earlier is so important, and that is acknowledging that you are in a toxic relationship. Stop giving of yourself all the time because you're not getting anything back. Because if you're giving all the time, you're making the other person or people get used to it. And the moment you stop, they want to know why. Even though you have your reasons, you need to start acknowledging that sometimes you can fuel a toxic relationship. Whether it's a love relationship, whether it's a friend relationship, whether it's a business relationship, you fuel that toxic relationship and you're giving them ammunition, they're giving them reason on what to do. I mean, one of the things you can do is seek therapy. And through therapy, reflect on why you behave the way you do. Why do you allow it? Are you too much of an empath? And I'm a big empath, I won't lie. Are you too much of an empath? Are you allowing yourself to be walked over at all times? Are you trying to find support from the wrong people? These are all questions to ask to how to deal.
I'd like to also just jump in here and say, when therapy doesn't necessarily have to be someone that is a therapist. It can also just be someone that can relate to your story, someone that has potentially gone through the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, because there's a lot of people that have gone through the same trouble, and this year is something that a lot of people can relate to. And as I say, you don't need a therapist to help you through, but you might just need a support system of someone that understands, because sometimes we believe that no one understands what we're going through, and that's not always the case. Yes, we're all walking a journey at our own time, but there's people that can actually relate to what you're going through because they've all gone through it themselves. Some more severe than others, but yeah.
So when you start feeling you are in that dark hole, you'll be surprised how many people have been in that dark hole. And that is where your support structure is going to come from. The big step from there is to start healing. Allow yourself to heal. If you don't allow yourself to heal, you're going to repeat a pattern. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a business relationship, whether it's a friendship, you're going to repeat a pattern because you are allowing it. You are the fuel to that toxicity. And it's so important because your soul gets impacted, your energy gets impacted, as mentioned earlier. And as we said, finding support from people who are not always family and friends is crucial, because sometimes those are the people who will look at you and go, what are you talking about? When actually that's not the scenario. The scenario is you might meet that random person in the line in the shopping center that has been through an abusive relationship due to toxicity, that you can just vent and let off energy, and you might have to find a solution. Something which is very important is starting to set boundaries, starting to set those boundaries, establishing why you allowing the person to walk over you all the time. And this is hard for us empaths because our boundaries are very minimal because we want to be there to love and care for everybody.
To help as much as you can.
So, saying no is the hardest thing ever. Having to learn to say no can save you.
But then it comes to another point that you've got here, which is communication. So, yes, sometimes you wanting to say no is really hard, and it doesn't feel right, but being able to communicate on, this is how I feel and this is why I don't want to do this, and like that is also important, because communications between whether it is a partner, whether it is whoever that relationship is with, that toxic relationship is with, communication is key. Because if there's no communication, you're never going to be able to work over your problems, and you're never going to be able to change. Okay, and that's the thing. So learning to say no and letting someone change around this, so that, because you got to remember that if you're not happy in life, what do you really have?
Yeah.
Like, what is there? What is, like, what? Do you want to be miserable for your whole life? So do you want to stay in a toxic relationship? Yeah. I'm okay with that. Communication.
Now, coming back to the communication part, I mean, if the person or people you are having this toxicity with are really caring and really do want to make something work, they will listen to you. Because you know what? Eugene and I and everybody on the live watching this video, we are really not mind readers. If I don't say I don't like this, how are you going to know that I don't like it? I'm not going to be able to smell it. I'm not a sniffer dog of emotions. If I start saying things like, okay, I'm going to stop doing this now because of this reason, you need to communicate properly. You can't just say, I'm just going to stop. Let them know why so that you can know the effect it's been having on you. I'm speaking with my hands again like a Greek. And you just need to be able to be open with your feelings. People are so scared to express their feelings about how they're feeling about the toxicity because of the attack. They're scared of that attack. They're scared of that, oh, how am I going to deal with this now? And that comes up with saying no. And you'll find you'll start attracting more people, attracting different energies, people who actually want to listen to you, because when you start expressing and communicating, you build trust. Communication, as we mentioned, is very important. Something we mentioned right in the beginning is there's a lack of trust, there's dishonesty. Getting questioned about every little thing and every little movement that you're doing in your life is toxic, because there's a lack of trust, there's a lack of experience, and sometimes communication. Previous experience can affect us. Sometimes you allow it, sometimes you get that red flag and you ignore it. But communication is so important in order to deal with a toxic relationship before it's too late.
100%.
Right, I think on that note, we can take a quick pause. I'll be right back.
Sunny Motive, written by Sunil Osman, uses and explains motivational quotes to encourage readers of all ages to take bold steps in life, love, and business. Order your copy now by emailing Lauren Moy Publishing on sales@laurenmoypublishing.com. Also available on takealot.com and amazon.com.
Welcome back to Motivational Mondays, also known as Monday Motivation, with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. We do this every single Monday between 3:30 and 4 on TikTok Live, and then you can catch the recap, which happens on Influence SA's YouTube channel and also on IGTV. Don't forget to click on subscribe, the bell notifications, and all those things. We've come to the conclusion of today's topic, which is dealing with toxic relationships. And I think one of the most important things, I hope you don't mind me starting this, Eugene, one of the most important things I think when it comes to dealing with toxic relationships is identifying when you're in it so you don't see it as normal anymore, and communication and healing.
Because sometimes you can't see it. Sometimes you just can't see it. And sometimes you need a moment or a realization in your life that makes you go, hang on, I've had enough now. And sometimes that point can be quite far along in that journey. And you can't allow that. You can't allow that. You can't allow yourself to be brought down like that. You can't, for the person you are going to become one day, you can't allow someone to bring you down. And you can't be in a relationship where there's physical, mental, and you can't. For your own safety, for your own sake, for your own future, like, you live once. Just live life, enjoy it while you're here. If you're living in a toxic relationship, it's hard to find your self-worth. It is, but you need to work on that. You need to work on that each day, and you will find the more you learn about yourself, even as I say, a little bit, you will grow and you will realize that there is something better out there for you.
Right. To conclude for today, I'd like to do a second conclusion, which is really identify when you are in a toxic relationship, reflect on why it's toxic. Are you feeling the toxicity? Are you accepting it as normal? Are you allowing it? Heal and seek the support from people you least expect it from. There are many people out there. And if you are somebody who is toxic that's watching this, learn about how to show empathy and reflect on yourself for your own journey on why you behave the way you do. And that's it from me.
Cool.
You good, Gina? You good?
I'm good, eh? Guys, thank you very much.
Before we end, don't forget you can catch the recaps on Influence SA YouTube and IGTV. Last week's topic was surviving bullying. That is going to be on by Wednesday. And next week's topic, which is quite interesting because we speak about identifying and taking the steps and communicating, taking risks in life. Taking risks in life. And we're not going to be speaking just about business. We're going to speak about love. We're going to speak about social media. We're going to speak about everything possible. We thank you very much for joining us on Monday Motivational Mondays. There we go. With Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osmond. Love and light to all.
Have a good day.